Well, hey everybody, Backyard Scrapping here, and welcome to part 5. We've had a reasonably nice day out here, which means the grass grew, so I'm going to have to mow again soon. We are still filtering. I've already come across some unusual stuff, so as I said, I'm glad I'm doing this all in separate batches. This is actually number 3, which was our tungsten contacts, that coffee pot full of tungsten contacts, and this is my 3rd filter on this. I keep filtering it out and it keeps coming out nice and clear like that, and then overnight it gets this cloudy haze. So we are going to continue to filter it out. I think this time should do it. This was our melt stuff, you know, our chunks of solder and everything, and that actually looks pretty normal to me, as do our bars. This was from our experiment with our tungsten plated bars. We already have an unusual thing happen with this. You saw in the last video I ended with the time lapse on this. This powder is very gray looking, dirty looking. Also, it moves, alright, but it's very dense. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I've actually never had a powder turn out like that before. It is extremely dense. If I stir it up, it only takes about an hour for it to clear, and you can literally watch. It doesn't get hazy, whatever. It gets this clear as it goes down till it stacks all up right there. So I might just take that whole bit, wash it, acid wash it, clean it, melt it into a bar, and take it over to a place I know where I can get it checked with a gun, with an XRF, and see exactly what is in that. But that was the alloy stuff. Actually came, you know, we thought it was hard alloy, and it was actually those bars. Right now, this is the tungsten that we have out. That's the tungsten from our contacts, which is 3, which I keep. That's the stuff that turned really yellow, and now some of it's almost turning an oily black as it dries out. That was the bars, which actually are the most normal of everything so far, and that was what we thought was hard alloy. So, and that's just some other little pieces that were, you know, in a jar that made it by. So anyway, that's where I'm at, still filtering. This actually came out really good and clear after a couple of filters. So that is actually the whole thing. I didn't have anything left to put all of number 1 in. So we'll actually drop it in 2 jars. Hopefully, like I said, that'll be done, and we can get started on our stuff. This is actually the number 4 is our little tungsten contacts, which are these bad boys out here. And they also have some I don't know what this yellow stuff is. It's got to be lead or something along those lines. But these are the ones that actually had this like silver, a knot of like silver foil in it, but it dissolved. So I'm presuming it was silver. Anyway, so I've got those out to dry. Basically, that's where we're at. I'm going to do a couple more filters here. That's actually I believe that is the 2nd run on the number 5. Hopefully that'll be good. So when this number 4 clears out, which is going to be forever and a day, because that was all the black from those little contacts. So anyhow, that's where we're at, and when we start doing some dropping, I'll get back to you. I think before I do anything else, I am going to go ahead and finish our filtering process and get all that done before I start doing, you know, any other drops. That is actually our plugs and everything from filtering that we are going to hit with Aqua Regia. So guys, that's where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and quit babbling and get back to work. Okay guys, I've been out here all morning pretty much finishing up my filtering. This is actually all of our tungsten now. That was the one we dropped, the original from the number 2 batch. These are the number 1s. the number 4, which was the one we thought was heavy alloy or hard alloy, and then the number 3, which is the one that I actually had to filter about 3 times. It looks a little hazy still, but that's just the jar. I've taken it out in the sun and looked at it. It's the just depending on the angle you look at it, because it is a very dark fluid, so it actually looks a little dirty, but it's not. It's as clean and clear as the rest of these. So our number 2 has already been dropped. I'm going to go ahead and start dropping the tungstens while I'm filtering the regular contacts. So the number 5 is done. The number 6 is finishing up, which is right here. This is just rinse water, and what I'm doing with the rinse water, in other words, when I clean a funnel or rinse out a beaker or whatever, I'm filtering off that, whatever the junk was. I'm capturing the rinse, and that goes in here. And what's in here so far is some HCl and water, so that we're dropping out any silver as silver chloride. And we have already pretty much covered the bottom of that coffee pot just with our rinse water. So we're not losing any silver there. The only thing I have left at the very end, which I'm going to do, this is our last batch, which I don't have a jar for right now. And then I'll have to do that little beaker and just check it to see if there was silver in our original cleaning water that we cleaned everything with. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to go ahead and get some copper prepared for these and get them ready to drop. I think I want to do it this way because I've already run into some things that are kind of odd, which is the type of powder that's in this jar. It is very dense powder, but it is also very fine powder, very small and fine. So just for the heck of it, being that I had these all pretty much separated out, I'm actually going to do them as a batch in each batch. I'm going to do their percentage and their weights, and then we can average it all at the end. So while these are going here, I'm going to go ahead and drop some copper in these bad boys, and we'll check in on you in a bit. Oh, whoa, no I'm not. First thing I'm going to do is test them. We have to test them and make sure we can drop them with copper with no problem. So this battery's going dead. Let me go get a fresh battery, and I'll set you up, and we will test these. See, I do this stuff, and I don't think about it because it's second nature. I just do it. So I want to show you things that are important, and testing is one of them. So I've got my clean copper rod out. See, I had it all out. I just forgot because my brain's getting soft. But anyway, let me go change this battery, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm actually only going to have time to test maybe 1 or 2 of these. Then we're going to have to take off. I've actually got to take my little pup to the vet. She's got some bad toofies. So, and I can pull mine, but I can't pull hers. I don't have the heart. So, anyhow, let me go ahead and get some of this fluid. Okay, there it is. As you can see, it's, well, I don't know if I'm going to like this camera. It seems to me that it's blurry. Tell me what you guys down in the comments. Tell me what you think, if you think that this is blurrier than my old camera. But anyway, so what we do for our tests is I just take a clean piece of copper and I drop it in the solution, and we see if we get silver crystals with no black junk. So far we're looking pretty good. I'm actually going to let it set in here for a minute. Put this up here, and we'll see what we get here. So far it's looking good. All I'm seeing is silver crystals coming off. I'm not seeing any black crap. So that is actually good to go with copper. Okay, I still don't see anything fouling it, and I don't see any black in there. Now let's see if we can tell See if we can tell how our acid is. I don't have my gloves on because I'm getting ready to go, but sorry if I didn't put it in camera well. What I want to do is I want to see if this is redissolving. So I'm having to look at it close. So I know you guys can't see it, but I can. And it doesn't look like it is, but I'm going to leave it set there for a minute. We will get our number 1 down. This will tell me if I'm going to need extra copper or if I overshot my wad in nitric. Just that little tiny bit of silver, if it redissolves, then we had too much nitric. And so far, I mean, we're looking okay. Let me take a close look at it. We are getting another kind of a weird light powder with some bright, I don't know if you see it in this, but some bright, almost looks like a silver foil forming, which is what the first one did. But I am not seeing any, what I would call a major redissolve. So we're probably going to have a little, I mean, when you're doing tungstens, it's almost like you're always going to have a little bit too much nitric, just because. Okay guys, I'm going to pause and get this poured back into that big jar, get it cleaned out, check the next one, and then I'm going to have to run to the vet. So we'll be back. Okay guys, we got that put back up. We are going to go ahead and test our number 1, which was our tungsten bars, our experiment. Okay, drop that in. Normally it's tungsten that gives me a problem if we're going to have one. And usually you'll know right away, because when you stick a piece of copper in it, you'll start getting a black sludge. And if you get that, you might as well pull the copper out and drop it with salt water or hydrochloric acid, because you're just going to have to redo the whole batch anyway. Okay, so we're looking good on this one. Let's let it set for a minute. That eliminates 2 jars, leaves me with just the number 4, which maybe I have enough time to get in there and do it. I like to leave this for a few minutes, or at least a minute, and I'm seeing nothing but a good reaction. Looking good, but this powder is awful dirty. I don't know if it's just because of the tungsten, but it's very, very dark. So we're going to put that back in there. And we'll put this back on the shelf. So we know both our number 1s are good to go with copper. So the last one we have to check is our number 4. Let me clean this thing out. And we are going to check our number 4. get anything on me. And there we go with that. And we'll see what that bad boy does. This actually looks good to go too. Just at the first instant. So I don't know what was in these tungsten contacts, why the powder is so gray and so dark, but it's not like throwing lead or anything, so that one looks good as well. Same thing though, a little bit dark. Actually, it's a little cleaner than the others, but not a whole lot. So that's good to go. Our test rod up here. Take one more look at this. Alright, and we're going to put that in there. Alright guys, I have to go run the little doggy to the vet, and then we are going to come out here and get our copper cut for these and get them rocking and rolling. And I'm not going to drop them right now because I want to actually be here to make sure nothing happens, even though we did a test. So we will be back at you this afternoon. Okay guys, we are back from the vet. So I just came out here to check these. That still has silver in it. This redissolved, so it tells me we're going to have in our number 4, we've got a little extra nitric, which is exactly what I suspected from the beginning, because we thought that those were alloy and they were actually tungsten, so there's a little bit too much nitric in here. The number 1, you can see down here in the bottom that the silver remained. So these two are the same, so that means they're ready to go. This one's just going to take a little bit more copper than I expected. I'm going to go ahead and get these filtering some more, get them filled up again, and let them do their drippy drippy. And I'm going to get some copper cut up for those. So when I get them in there, I'll get back to you. Okay guys, this is our copper pipe cut open. What I'm doing is this is actually before I cleaned it up. You know, it's got some corrosion in there and whatever. So what I'm doing is I'm actually cutting those into lengths like this. And then I'm splitting them down the middle with my shears. And then I'm locking them in my vise and hitting them with a steel wheel, you know, a wire brush to clean them up and get all that other crud off of them. What I do then is I actually made a little hook out of some heavy gauge copper wire, cut that one in half, and that will drop right in here. Now I know I'm going to need a little bit more. I'm probably going to need probably 2 of these plates and a little piece. I'm guesstimating because this should yield half of what I thought it was going to yield because it was actually tungsten. So being that this is also the one that we are going to have extra because we got a little extra nitric in it, I'm just going to go ahead and get it started. Well, there we go. So, and I wanted to do it this way this time so that I could actually, I'm getting a lot of reaction, a lot more nitric in there than I thought. It may take double that. Anyhow, I'm going to let that go. I wanted to do that one first because I knew it was going to react, you know, and dissolve and redissolve, and I wanted to be out here with it. So while I'm cleaning up the others, I can kind of keep an eye on this one, make sure it doesn't go haywire on me. But anyhow, so it's going to try to take 3 of those looking at that reaction. So I'm just going to get back to splitting my pipe, cleaning it up, brushing it out, and I'm going to get the rest of these going. So I'll take a quick little shot of it when we got, you know, all of them going. So I will be back then. Okay guys, just popping back in for a minute. That plate that you saw that we put in this one, completely dissolved, and now what I'm doing is I'm just letting that silver you know, it's actually going in and out of solution, but it'll actually dissolve that silver back into solution and use up the rest of that nitric. If it was the right amount of nitric in there, it would be doing like this one. So you see how nice, and that one's just scaling off nice and easy, no big bubbly reaction. It just could have been because there was too much nitric that it was so fine, because this one actually seems to be coming off. I'm going to try and back off with this. Just can't get very close with it. Anyhow, you can see how nice and smooth that one's coming off. That's how it really should be doing anyway. But so we're just going to let this one redissolve whatever silver it's got to redissolve to use up that nitric, and then we'll put another plate in it and finish dropping the silver out of it. I'm probably going to head in. I'm going to get a plate in this big guy here, and then this other #1 jar, and I think I'm going to call it a day. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you that they are all working now. These guys are almost done filtering, so then I can get to that one, and we'll be good to go. There's the rest some more of my copper. I'm going to have to cut some more up. But everybody is on the job, let's call it. See if we can move this around here a little bit. That one's really hard to see, but it is doing what it's supposed to. It's doing like these guys. No eruptions, just a nice even keel there. Alright guys, I'm going to call it an evening, and I'll get back out here tomorrow. I know I already said that once, but you know what it doesn't mean anything if I don't say it at least 2 or 3 times. So we will see you later. Okay guys, it is the next day. Actually I think it's the day after the next day, but I'm not sure. Anymore I don't keep track of days pretty much, unless I know it's a relaxed day or something. But anyhow, this was our very first drop. It has settled out pretty well. I know I had left copper in there to see if anything else was going to happen, and it didn't, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on that one. One thing I am doing with this stuff that I haven't mentioned, and I usually do this when I have what I consider dirty material, fire truck, is I'm letting it sit. Now you can see this drop is several days older than these. These were all dropped. In fact, some of these are still working. That one's still working. The large jar of #1 is still working. The small #1 jar is done, and I believe the #4 jar is done. There's a piece of test copper in it right now to see if anything happens. But if you'll notice, remember I was talking about how dirty this one was? Now, comparatively speaking to this one, which is about the color this was a few days ago, see the difference? I'm going to let all of these sit. There's still trace amounts of nitric in here, and probably copper, because you're going to get little bits of copper that actually break off and fall off. I don't think I've ever brought this up before, but generally I will leave this stuff sit when it's dirty like that for a few days. If I get a good, clean, shiny, bright drop, I'm not worried about it. But if you notice the difference in those two, look at how much this has cleaned itself up over the past couple days. It's significantly lighter than it was. It was just like this one. So what's happening is whatever impurities or whatever junk was in there actually is getting absorbed up into here, which is what I want to happen. That's my philosophy anyway. I'm not a chemist. I don't know for sure. All I know is when I let it sit, when it's dirty like this and I leave it sit for a few days or an extra day or two, it seems to clean itself up. So to me it's only logical that it's coming out of here and going back into here. Anyhow, we're going to go ahead and get set up and clean this one up. I'm going to get these set to go. Our #6 is finished, so I'm going to get it jarred up and up on the shelf with #5. We're going to pretty much, you know, I'm dropping this other stuff, but I pretty much want to get this tungsten stuff out of the way, because the crap that is in these beakers, I mean, I want it, you know, I want to be done with that part. So anyhow, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll get this camera set up and we'll go through some of the rinsing process when I get ready to start working on this guy right here. So we'll be back at you then. Okay guys, we have taken our number 2 batch and siphoned off our copper nitrate. As you can see there, I transferred it into this beaker because it's going to be easier to rinse that way. And I'm going to be pouring my rinse water in here and hitting it with HCl at the very end after we reduce it down, because there may be a little bit of silver or a little bit of float that actually gets, like that stuff, that'll actually get poured off because this is such fine powder. But anyhow, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this thing on the tripod, and we're going to do a little bit of rinsing so I can show you the process of that. And remember, we got to do this 9 more times. So we'll be back in just a bit. Okay guys, you can see I just took the lid off of this so it went down to a simmer. I showed you earlier I had rinsed that once already. And what we are going to do now is just continue to do our rinsing. So basically I'm just going to pour that off. And then we're going to hit it again. And we're going to do this until this one gets clear. And then we are actually going to hit it with some hydrochloric acid. That'll ball it up. And after it balls up, we'll boil it for a while. I can tell there's a lot of crap in here just by what's going up. See how it's running up the thing? Most of that's junk or whatever. There might be a little bit of silver mixed in with it, but for the most part, I have done this many times and cleaned it, and it's lead. So I'm going to just pour that off. See it in there floating? Like I said, at the very end, I will actually, after this bucket settles out, I will hit this with hydrochloric acid, and that'll clean out the silver. And that's all that'll be left in the bucket. Then will be a little bit of silver powder, and we will get it. I don't throw anything out until it's all said and done. But that float right there, it may have a little silver in it, but many, many, many times I have saved it up and melted it, only to find that it's junk. You can see there's powder that's just as fine in this jar that's not floating. And mainly, it's the final pour off at the very end where, you know, you actually get that a little bit of silver. Otherwise, for me anyway, it's pretty much always been just junk. Now we're going to start stirring it. Not a lot in here. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of junk in this one. This was the one that was very, the powder's dense, but also a lot of light stuff. And this was off of our, the ones that we actually thought were just a soft, or excuse me, a hard alloy, and ended up being tungsten. Also, all this rinse water will be reduced down to next to nothing. And then I will get the copper out of it and dispose of it properly. Which, there are many ways to do that. I actually have a friend that takes my stuff And what he does with it, I don't know, but I know he's way above my pay grade. So, and then the stuff he doesn't take, like AP and stuff like that, most of the time I keep a little hydrochloric acid still running, and I recover the hydrochloric acid out of it, and then you can raise the pH way up and filter out your junk, which I'll give him that because he'll take that. He just doesn't want the AP as is, because there's usually quite a bit of it, and it's not really, you know, he'll take the concentrate, but it's not worth messing with otherwise. So I'm going to just continue to do this until this water runs clear. Then I'll do it a couple more times after that. And then we're going to hit it with hydrochloric acid. So I'll come back to you then, because this is just going to be simply repetitive, the same thing over and over and over until it's done. So we'll get back at you in a bit. Okay guys, I ran inside and got the old camera because I can do close-up with it. If this battery doesn't go dead, it just shows dead now. But I wanted to show you close-up how that looks. You can see it's clear now, and it's not running up the sides anymore like it was, that fine powder. So I'm going to pour this one off, and then I'm going to hold this camera. I'm going to go get the other battery first because this one's stone dead. And I'm going to put the hydrochloric acid in there. I'm going to show you what happens. It should, if it's right and everything's correct, there's actually a layer. You can see it. There's a little dark layer on the very top of this powder, which is crap. If I lose you, I'll pick it up on the other one when I put the battery in. But that layer of crap is going to start going directly into the hydrochloric acid, and the silver is going to bunch up if everything's right. I mean, on normal. So let me go get the other battery for this thing, and we'll get back and do this. Okay guys, I've got this camera on a little stand, and remember, you can still see how fluffy this stuff is. Now I'm going to start putting some HCl in there, and if everything is right, this stuff should start balling up. And there it goes. Now what that's doing is that's eating that powdery crap up that's in that, and putting that whatever little bit of copper or any other kind of junk that was possibly in there. You can see that that acid is already turning color. We're getting some little bit of floaty on the top, which is junk. But let me show you how this looks now from there. See how it's all clumping up? Now I'm going to add some more HCl to that, and then we're actually going to boil it. And that, when you see this silver again, it'll be bright, shiny, white, silvery white color. So let me put a little bit more acid in here. I did it slow the first time with that thing, but I'm just going to put some in here now like this. And you can see the color of the solution. So, as I said many times, just because you have refined something and dropped it doesn't necessarily mean that that is pure. I see a lot of people refine silver, and especially if you're doing contacts. I mean, other silver, yeah, you might get away with it, like sterling or coin silver or something like that. It's going to be very limited on the different alloys that are in it. But contacts, there's a lot of stuff. There'll be a lot of junk in contacts. So I wanted you to see that. I'm actually going to go ahead and let this sit for a few minutes, and then I'm going to put it on the burner to boil, and we're going to let it boil for a while. So I'll show you that when I get done. But look at how dirty that solution is. Alright, that is not silver. Hydrochloric acid does not dissolve silver, and this was clean. So then we'll have actually a nice weighted little powder down there. Alright guys, I'll get back at you in a bit. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you, this is our second cold rinse. And you can see we don't have any of that little powder floating anymore, but these things are really, really dirty. Let me back it off a little more so you can see it a little better. But I'm going to do a couple more cold rinses till I don't get so much of a reaction. And then we're going to put this on to boil. So I just wanted to show you that. I just wanted to show you how dirty this batch was. And like I said, this was, you know, I thought it was originally hard alloy and ended up being tungsten. But I mean, they were really, really, really nasty. A lot of impurity in that powder. So I'm going to continue cleaning it up, and I'll show it to you when it's done. Okay guys, our silver is just starting to simmer, just starting to come to a boil. I wanted to show you at this point right now, look at the color of that hydrochloric acid. And that is the first hot boil. It's actually the third acid rinse. Alright, because I did 2 cold rinses before that, but still look at the color in that. So that tells you if you would have melted that powder right the way it was, I don't care if you dropped it with whatever you dropped it with, something else dropped out with that silver. I don't know what it was, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to get rid of it. But that's how dirty that silver is. And that's the third rinse. It's the first hot rinse. I may have to hot rinse it twice. I don't know. But so I wanted you to see that. I know I said I was going to show you when it was done, but you know, I mean, that's just surprising to me that we have that much crap in that. But we don't know what those were from, what they were used for, what they were made out of, what the alloy was that was on top of the tungsten. I can tell you we had over 100 grams of tungsten left over out of that batch, and that batch weighed a total of 175 grams. So over 100 of that 175 grams was tungsten, not counting whatever else this other junk is that's going to be coming out. So, you know, I was expecting about 150 grams of silver out of this batch. It ain't even going to be close, I don't believe. So anyhow, I'm going to go let this do its thing. If anything else comes up with it along the way, I'll show you. But that's where we are with it right now. So I'll be back. Okay guys, I'm back on the close-up camera again. Like I said, if I saw anything unusual, I would pop in and show you. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a little bit of fine powder, looks silvery colored to me, floating up to the top of that hydrochloric acid. When I stir it, it doesn't go down. You can see the rest of the silver in there has bunched up like it's supposed to, you know, and it's staying down below. So I don't know what that is. When I pour it off, I'm going to pour it off separately and see if I can filter it out and maybe melt it. I don't think there's going to be enough there to even melt, but it's just a fine little film of, I don't even know if you can see it on here, of just some whitish, silverish looking powder. So anyhow, like I said, if I saw anything unusual, I was going to pop in and tell you. So I'm going to continue to boil this for about another 20-25 minutes, and then I'm going to start rinsing it again, and then we should have some nice bright silvery silver powder, good and clean. So we'll be back at you in a bit. Okay guys, we are nearing the end of our 30-35 minute boil here. I'm fixing to shut this off and let it cool off. I did do a Stannis test on it just to check it, just out of curiosity, and we're not getting any reaction. Same color as the solution. As far as whatever that is floating, I've decided not to mess with it, simply because if it's floating, that means it's lighter than the silver. It's not dense, especially in that boil. If it was palladium or platinum or something like that, or gold, you know, it would have sunk down. It would not be floating. So it is obviously another type of metal that is not a precious metal. You can see now our silver is whitened up a lot. I am actually going to let it go a couple more minutes, and I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to let it cool a little bit so I can pour that acid off. I'm going to do one more cold or cool acid rinse on it. Then I'm going to rinse it with water, get it in our pan, and get it in our drying oven. And that will be batch 1. So after I do that, I'll do some percentages. We'll take it inside and I'll do some percentages on it, show you what we actually got, you know, and try and figure out what else we lost in oddball metals. And then I'm going to do the rest of these. I'm not going to put you through 9 batches of this like this. I'm going to be doing the same thing over and over and over. So if something unusual pops up in another batch, I will show you that. If not, I'm just going to wait until we do our tally. Now I'm not going to wait till we do the tally to show you some other things, because you know, this is all the tungsten stuff. We still have all of our all of these bad boys to do, and these. So we still have a lot to do. That's actually water that's going to go. That is our rinse water that I have been saving for the you know, putting hydrochloric acid in to get the silver chloride out of it. So anyway, but I'm going to finish up for today. I got to run to the store, and I'm getting a little tired. My back's starting to hurt. I know I got to whine a little, right? So we'll be back at it tomorrow.